Sir, very happy morning to all. So we are doing direct tax. In that equalization levy is the discussion. Equalization levy, yesterday we understood that classified into two categories, section 165 and 165A. 165 is read with 166 and 165A is read with 166A. What 165 is all about is specified services. 165 na specified services. Classified in two category. Number one, applicability and non-applicability. Applicability, the assessee should be a non-resident. He should provide specified services to a specified person. That specified person should be situated in India. Then the specified person who are situated in India is liable to equalization levy at the rate of. But in three circumstances, equalization levy will not be applicable. Number one, sir, it will not be applicable if the non-resident who are situated outside India is having a and that specified services are supplied through that permanent establishment, then equalization levy will not be applicable. And number two, my dear lovable students, with regard to the specified person who is a resident in India is not paying the amount for the business or profession, then is not supposed to deduct equalization levy. Or the amount of consideration does not exceed 1 lakh, which is the threshold limit or monetary limit, then provisions of 165 will not be applicable. Sir, we need to know certain terms specifically. What is specified services and who is that specified person? Specified services can be classified into three categories. Number one, online advertising. Number two, digital advertising space, and any other notified services by the central government. Who's a specified person? Who's a resident who are in India who are doing business or profession, or who's a non-resident who's having permanent establishment in India. That's it. Fantastic flow. 165A is what? E-commerce operator basically. Can be classified into two categories, applicability and non-applicability. Applicability, there should be an e-commerce operator. Such e-commerce operator should be a non-resident. It should supply either goods or services or both to a specified person who are situated in India. Then the e-commerce operator is liable to pay equalization levy at the rate of 2% to the government of India. But in these three circumstances, sir, 165A will not be applicable. Number one, e-commerce operator is having a permanent establishment in India. Through that permanent establishment, he is selling goods or services or both. Because if he is having a permanent establishment in India and through that permanent establishment, if he is supplying either specified services or e-commerce services, then, my dear lovable students, it will not tantamount to, sir, e-commerce. அப்போ அது என்ன ஆவாதுன்னா எலக்ட்ரானிக் காமர்ஸே ஆவாது. கரெக்டா இல்லையா? அப்போ பிசிக்கல் ட்ரேடா மாறிடும். பிகாஸ் என்ன எஸ்டாப்ளிஷ்மெண்ட் இருக்கு? அப்போ அதுக்கு ஈக்குவலைசேஷன் லெவி போக வேண்டிய என்ன இல்லை? Equalization levy is a concessional rate of tax either at the rate of 6% or 2% as the case may be. That means those guys should not have a permanent establishment in India. Those guys should earn the income only from India, right? Once the provision of section 165 applicable, provisions of 165A not applicable. And my dear lovable students, turnover has not exceeded 2 crore means then this NSR is not applicable. We have to understand two definitions. Who's a specified person, and when you are calculating the turnover of 2 crore, what and all we are supposed to be included. That specified person, number one, resident individual. So any resident individual who are purchasing goods or service or both from e-commerce operator, then that is a specified person. Or non-resident in specified special circumstances. Sir, sale of advertising, sir, targeting the Indian customer, or sale of data collected from the Indian resident, or any person whose IP address is in India, then these three guys will be treated as specified person. This consolidation is world class. Are you really with me? Yes, sir. These charts, sir, yesterday we have done a brilliant job with regard to this chart. The same I have done for the entire direct tax through this batch actually. If possible, we will be having a 5 hours of marathon or something in one shot, the entire direct tax from assessment. It will try our level best. I will inform you at the appropriate time. I am completing that document actually, and now AFM class is going on. Now I can't disturb that class. Let it over, then we'll have a session on direct tax. Now, when you are calculating the turnover of 2 crores, my dear lovable students, then you have to include own turnover plus the others turnover. That means whatever goods or services or both which is owned by the ECO, and also goods or service or both which has been supplied through ECO. Right? These are procedural aspects. I'll call this as procedural aspects. 165 is what? Specified services, and 165A is e-commerce operator. The collection and recovery of 165 is covered in 166, whereas collection and recovery of 165A is covered in 166A. Right, sir? What the 167 is saying that you are supposed to what? Furnish a statement. The time limit to furnish the statement is 30th June of the succeeding financial year. If you fail to furnish that statement within the stipulated time of 30th June, then they will issue a notice. Once you get a notice within 30 days of the receipt of the notice, you are supposed to file the statement. File the statement. Then after you file the statement, if you are feeling that if there is any mistake, revision, omission or NSR mistake, then within 2 years from the end of the financial year in which the dash specified services or has been provided. That means that rectification is not linked to the date of filing of the furnishing of the statement. It is linked to the supply. They have linked to the supply. Then section 168, processing of the statement. The same like how you have filed the return of income, it is processed under 143 subsection 1. Right? After studying that the whole assessment, this chapter will be a cakewalk. So the same like the return will be processed within 1 year from the end of the financial year in which the dash is filed. So this is linked to the statement. Right? Rectification is not linked to the statement, but processing of the statement is linked to the statement. 169 is what? Revision of the statement. Correct? Raw. It is 1 year from the end of the financial year in which the statement sought to be revised has been filed. That means after you process the statement, if that statement contains any mistake apparent from record, then that can be rectified under section 169. So 169 is talking about rectification of the statement. So 167, filing of the statement. 168, processing of the statement. 169, rectification of the statement. 170 is interest. Sir, there is a due date that within 7th of the next month or quarterly basis you are supposed to make the equalization levy. Otherwise interest will be chargeable at the rate of 1% per month or part of the month. Coming to 171, penalty to failure to deduct or pay. If you don't deduct, the amount equal to the equalization levy will be the penalty. Deducted but not paid, 100,000 rupees per day. Sir, it is applicable to 165 but not applicable to 165A, subject to a maximum of equalization levy. Whereas 172, penalty for non-furnishing the what? Statement, then 100 rupees per day. 173, penalty under section 171 and 172, because 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. Correct? Sir, 1 and 2, 1 plus 2 is equal to 3, that is 173. So this 173 will not be what? Applicable. 172, 171 and 172 will not be applicable as per 173, provided if you are able to NSR reasonable cost. This is where we are standing. We have to just complete the remaining provision. I will tell you the remaining provision, whatever to be completed, is not that much important for examination, which is the second part of our discussion, my dear lovable students. We can say it as either B category or C category. Still, since we have started equalization levy and we are having lot of time for this examination, we are going to do NSR this part. That's it. Sirikade. Appeal to the CIT appeals. Time limit for filing appeal against the order imposing penalty. Sir, if you don't like the penalty order passed, under what section penalty order will be passed? 171, 172. If you don't like 171 and 172 penalty order, okay, wow? Yes, sir. Sir, this is same like an order passed by AO, like 246 subsection 1 or 246A, adu madri dane. And then CIT appeal kit etha nalla pove. An assessee or the e-commerce operator aggrieved by the order imposing penalty under this chapter may appeal to the Commission of Income Tax appeal within 30 days from the date of receipt of order of the what? AO. What is the fees for filing appeal? An appeal shall be in prescribed form, which is form number 3, and verified in the prescribed manner. It shall accompany by a fee of 1,000. So how much rupees is the fee? It may be filed electronically under digital signature or electronically through EVC. Any document accompanying form number 3 has to be furnished in the manner in which form number 3 is furnished. For provisions of the Income Tax Act applicable in case of such appeal, where an appeal has been filed, provisions of 249 to 251, automatically it will jump to CIT appeal provision of the Income Tax Act would so far as may be apply to such appeal. Section 250 specify the procedure in appeal, and section 251 enlists the power of commissioner appeal. That means it will automatically treated as if you have filed a normal appeal. நம்ம ஒரு சாதாரண appeal file பண்ணா எந்த provision apply ஆகுமோ ஒண்ணும் இல்ல 246 ஏக்கு பதிலா அந்த செக்ஷன் ரீப்ளேஸ் ஆயிச்சே தவிர அதுக்கப்புறம் ஆர்டர் வெளியே வர்றது 250 தான். the power of commissioner 251 தான். அதுல எல்லாம் எந்த மாற்ற கருத்தும் கிடையாது. ஒத்துக்கறியா? So we are extending appeals. Sir, if you don't like the penalty order passed under what and what section? 171 and 172. Against this order, you can file an appeal. So penalty order under section what and what? Penalty order passed under 171 or 172. Against this order, you can file an appeal with yarkita CIT appeals. CIT appeals, not to JC appeal, to the CIT appeals. Correct? Within, that's what important. How many days? 30 days. From what? From the date of receipt of order. Date of receipt of penalty order. Date of receipt of penalty under section 171, 172. மீன்கள் இங்கே விற்கப்படும். File an appeal to CIT appeal within 30 days from the date of receipt of the penalty order. So now, what is the prescribed fees? With a prescribed fees of 1000 rupees is a prescribed fees, right? Then, in form number 3, then that's it. All the other provisions of the 250, 249, 250, all those stuffs will be applicable. Right. Now, you will get a final order under section 250. This will be the output order. Final order under section 250 will be passed. This is the procedure. Now, final order under 250 came out, but you are not liking that order. Are you really with me? Yes, then, appeal to appellate tribunal. Assessee or e-commerce operator, sir, or CIT may file appeal to the appellate tribunal against order passed by commissioner appeals under section 174. What is 174? 174 la nee apply panni 250 order veliye vaangura, correct? And the 174 la nee appeal pona order unak pidikkalena, either an assessee or e-commerce operator aggrieved by an order by the commissioner appeals under section what? May appeal to the appellate tribunal against an order. Basically, it's a 250 order. That 250 order general section க்கு நம்ம சொல்லுவோம். இங்க இத 174 order னு ரெஃபர் பண்றோம். 174 order is equal to 250 order. The Commissioner of Income Tax may, if you object to any order passed by the Commissioner of Income Tax appeal under section what? Direct the AO to appeal to the appellate tribunal against such order. Hello. Time limit for filing appeal, அங்கே எவ்வளவு time limit? இங்கே அதேதான். Appeal shall be filed within 60 days from the date of which order sought to be appealed against is received by the assessee or e-commerce operator or by the Commissioner of Income Tax as the NMAB. Fees for filing appeal, first appellate authority get no fees? 1000. And the 250 or 500, higher limit of 1000 has been adopted. என்ன காமர்ஸ் ஆபரேட்டர்? இ-காமர்ஸ் ஆபரேட்டர். நிறைய காசு வச்சிருப்ப, இந்தியாக்கு வெளிய இருக்க, கரெக்ட்டா நீ நான் ரெசிடென்ட்டா இருக்க, கட்டு 1000 ரூபாய். ஹலோ சார். Sir, the appeal shall be in prescribed form, which is form number 4, and verified in the prescribed manner. In case the appeal filed by assessee or e-commerce operator, it shall accompanied by a fee of. Also the form of appeal, the grounds of appeal and the form of verification appended thereto shall be signed by the person specified in form number 4 as applicable to assessee or e-commerce operator as the NMAB. Provisions of Income Tax Act 1961 applicable in case of such appeal. That is where an appeal has been filed before the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. Provisions of 253, that is what are the order applicable right to 255 of the Income Tax Act would so far as they apply to such appeal. That means we are moving into the next appeal, that is appeal to ITAT. Appeal to ITAT. If you don't like the order passed under section 250, So order under section 250 is equal to order under section 174. If you don't like this order, my dear lovable students, don't worry. You can go and knock the doors of ITAT within 60 days. Within 60 days. In form number 3 or 4. 4. So ITAT in form number 4. Right. In 60 days in form number 4. With the prescribed fees of rupees 1000 again. There also 1000, here also 1000. Then all provisions of Normal Income Tax Act will be applicable. And you will get the end order, final order under section 254. Right? Yes, that's it, man. I'm continuing. Punishment for false statement. Again, we are coming for the penalty and prosecution, the last leg of our discussion, because appeals over, right? 176, punishment for a statement. You are supposed to file a statement. Yes, sir. The specified person or the e-commerce operator within 30th June of the succeeding financial year is supposed to furnish a நீ அந்த ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட் என்ன பண்ணாதான் ஃபர்னிஷ் பண்ணாதான் நாங்க அதை என்ன பண்ணுவோம் ப்ராசஸ் பண்ணுவோம் அந்த ப்ராசஸிங்ல ஏதாவது மிஸ்டேக் apparent from நாங்க அதை என்ன பண்ணி தருவோம் ரெக்டிஃபை பண்ணி தருவோம் கரெக்ட்டா எஸ் சார் உனக்கு இந்த ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட் உனக்கு பிடிக்கலனா சார் நீங்க ஃபைல் பண்ணலனா நாங்க பெனால்டி போடுறோம்னு சொன்னோம் இல்லையா எஸ் சார் பெனால்டி அண்டர் செக்ஷன் 171 and 170 இது பிடிக்கலனா எங்க எடுத்துட்டு போலாம் CID 174 அது பிடிக்கலனா எங்க எடுத்துட்டு போலாம் 170 okay right இப்போ punishment for என்ன statement sir if a person makes a false statement in any verification under this chapter or any rules made there under நான் வெரிஃபை பண்ணும்போது எனக்கு என்ன தெரிய வருதுன்னா நீ ஃபைல் பண்ண ஸ்டேட்மென்ட் என்னவா இருக்கு ஃபால்ஸா இருக்கு தப்பா இருக்கு பொய்யா இருக்கு are you really with me yes sir fake friends are delivers an account or statement which is false delivers an account or statement which is false and which he either knows or believes to be false or does not believe to be true ரெண்டு ஒண்ணுதான் சார் either அவனுக்கு தெரியுது என்னன்னு தப்புன்னு தெரியுது இல்லனா அவனுக்கு தெரியுது சரி கிடையாதுன்னு தெரியுது ஓகேவா he shall be punishable with imprisonment for a term which may extend up to 3 years along with fine this is like TDS அங்க 3 மாசம் தான் ஆனா இங்க 3 years ஏன்னா தலைவன் இந்தியாக்கு வெளிய இருக்கறான் கரெக்ட்டா இந்தியாக்குள்ள வந்து ஒரு 3 மாசம் சுகவாசம் அனுபவிச்சிருப்போம் and offense அந்த நான் ரெசிடென்ட்டோட நிலைமையை யோசிச்சு பாரு ஏய் நான் இந்தியாக்கு போறேன்டா எதுக்குடா 3 வருஷம் ஜெயில்ல படுக்க இப்போ நமக்கு இந்தியால இருக்கோம் நம்ம வெளிநாட்டுக்கு எங்கேயே போறோம் வெளிநாட்டுல ஏதோ தப்பு பண்ணிருக்கோம்னு வெச்சுக்குவேன் ஏய் நான் துபாய் போறேன்டா எதுக்குடா 4 வருஷம் ஜெயில்ல படுக்கிறதுக்கு ரைட் கேட்டா யாராவது கேட்டானா நான் துபாயில அப்படினு சொன்னா போதும் துபாய் ஷேக் துபாய் குறுக்கு சந்துக்கு வா an offense so punishable shall be deemed to be non-cognizable within the meaning of Code of Criminal Procedure. This is irrespective of anything contained in the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973. This is not a cognizable offense, not a very serious offense. This is a non-cognizable offense. Non-cognizable means bailable offense. In the Code of Criminal Procedure, என்னதான் சொன்னாலும் சரி இது என்னதான் non-bailable offense தான் ரைட்டா so sorry bailable offense தான் non-cognizable offense தான் right sir sir இப்போ we have added another section what is that section section 170 what section 176 is saying that if you are furnishing false statement my dear lovable students then you can enjoy 3 years along with fine and this is a non-cognizable offense plus a bailable offense non-cognizable and bailable offense are you all really with me yes sir this is the maximum we want then moving to the next one institution of prosecution prior sanction of the chief commissioner or income tax is required for instituting prosecution against any person for any offense under what section யாரையாவது 3 வாசம் ஜெயில் வாசம் அனுபவிக்கிறதுக்காக சொல்லி விடுறதுக்கு முன்னாடி நீங்க 177ங்கற செக்ஷன் நமக்கு என்ன சொல்லுதுன்னா ஹலோ நீங்க கண்டிப்பா chief commissioner அப்போ in order to என்ன சார் apply 176 by the income tax authorities they have to get prior permission from the chief commissioner of income tax as per section so get the prior permission from the chief commissioner of income tax to put somebody in J. Application of certain provisions of the Income Tax Act. Following provisions of Income Tax Act shall so far as may apply in relation to equalization levy as they apply in relation to income tax. Income Tax Act in the section la eppadi apply ஆகுமோ இதெல்லாம் நாங்க borrow பண்றோம் எதுக்காகனா equalization levy காக ஓகேவா. Number 119 instruction to என்ன so 119 we already completed in income tax authorities. 120 jurisdiction of income tax authorities. So whatever income tax authority we have explained for normal act, the same income tax authorities are mutatis mutandis applicable for e-commerce also. 131 powers regarding discovery, production of evidence, etc. Right? 133A, that is power of survey. 133A, power of survey. That means in order to check whether you are properly complied with the equalization levy or not, we will come and do the survey. Right? 138 disclosure of information regarding the respecting the assessee. Sir, inside the department, if any information has been received, the officer may pass on that information to some other person for effective utilization of this act. 156 we may issue demand notice. Chapter 15 liability in what cases? Certain special cases, sometimes the tax liability what is supposed to be paid by some other person has to be paid by the successor, predecessor, non-resident, agent of non-resident. All those things will be covered here. 220 to 227 when tax payable and when assessee is deemed in what? Default. Penalty payable when tax in default. Certificate to TRO, that is tax recovery. Tax recovery officer by whom the recovery is to be effected. Validity of certificate and cancellation or amendment thereof. Stay of proceeding in pursuance of certificate and amendment or cancellation thereof. Other modes of recovery. Recovery through any government, state government. That means section 220 to section 227 is talking about, sir, recovery proceedings. All the recovery proceedings what are mutatis mutandis applicable for the Income Tax Act will be applicable even for equalization levy. I believe this time will be permitting. We will be talking about the recovery proceedings and the interest under section 234 ABC along with the advance tax in detail, all the subsections of that. Section 229, recovery of penalty, interest and other sums. They are talking about the recovery proceedings. Sir, if the penalty, fine and interest has not been paid, we will recover. 232, recovery by suit or under other law not affected. We may recover by NSR as if that penalty has been put by court. That's what suit. 260A, appeal to High Court. Yes, after ITAT, you can go to High Court. 261, appeal to Supreme Court. 262, sir, hearing before the Supreme Court. 265 to 269, tax to be paid, notwithstanding reference. Execution for costs awarded by what? Supreme Court. Amendment of assessment on appeal. Exclusion of time taken for copy. Filing of appeal or application for reference by Income Tax Authority and definition of High Court. 278B, offences by company. If the mistake has been done by company, the company is liable and also the officers in charge of the company is also liable. 280A, special courts. 280B, offences trialable by any court. 280C, trial of offence as summons case. 280D, application of Code of Criminal Procedure. 282, service of notice generally. 288 to 293, appearance by authorized representative. Sub 288, rounding of income, rounding of amount payable and refund due, receipt to be given, indemnity, power to tender indemnity, immunity from prosecution, cognizance of offence. 360 of Code of Criminal Procedure, a return of income not to be invalid on certain grounds, notice deemed to be valid in certain grounds, presumption as to asset books of accounts, authorization and assessment in case of search and requisition, bar of suit in civil court. This many sections are there in the Income Tax Act. Very good, congratulations, good knowledge. So these sections are mutatis mutandis applicable for equalization levy also, right? So what section? Charging section 178 is saying that, right? So after 176, 177, we are having 178. What 178 is saying that relevant provisions of Income Tax Act, that's it, game over. As per the Income Tax Act, that's it. Relevant provisions of Income Tax Act will be applicable for equalization levy also. And you will never get a question that what are the sections of income tax will be applicable for equalization levy. Right. Moving to the next one, what they are trying to say. Power to make rules. They are closing the equalization levy. Thank you. The central government is empowered to make rules for the purpose of carrying out provision of this chapter. In particular, such rules may also provide for all or any of the following matters. Namely, idhukla rules poduvanga. The time within which the form and the manner in which the statement shall be delivered or caused to be delivered or furnished under 167. 167 within 30th of June. அதுதான் ரூல்ஸ் போட்டு தான் சொல்லியிருக்காங்க. 30 ஜூனுக்குள்ள நீங்க ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட் என்ன பண்ணணும்னா ஃபைல் பண்ணணும். அப்படி ஃபைல் பண்ணலனா எப்ப நோட்டீஸ் அனுப்பணும்னு ரூல்ல சொல்லல. ஆனா நோட்டீஸ் வந்துச்சுனா 30 டேஸ்க்குள்ள ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட் ஃபர்னிஷ் பண்ணனும்னு சொல்லிட்டாங்க. Right. The form in which appeal may be filed and manner in which it may be verified under 174, 175, form 3 and form 4. Yes sir. Any other matter which is to be or as may be prescribed. வேற ஏதாவது இருந்தா அதையும் நாங்க ரூல்ஸ்ல சொல்லுவோம். Every rule made under this chapter shall be laid as soon as may after it's made, means each week of parliament which in session for total period of 30 days. 30 days. இதுக்கு இடையில அங்க ஏதாவது ரூல் வெச்சிட்டோம்னா நாங்க வந்து பார்லிமென்ட்ல போய் பிச்சை எடுப்போம். அங்க ஓகே சொன்னாதான் சார் நாங்க ரூலா எடுத்துட்டு வரோம். This period of 30 days may be compromised in one session in two or more successive session if before the expired session immediately following the session of the successive session aforesaid both houses agree in making any modification of the rule, then the rule shall thereafter have effect only in such modified form. Then the rule should not be made, then the rule would not have effect. அந்த வீட்ல என்ன சொல்றாங்கன்னா ரெண்டு வீட்ல சார் இந்த ரூலை நீங்க மாடிஃபை பண்ணி தான் அப்ளை பண்ணணும்னு சொன்னா மாடிஃபைட் ரூல் தான் அப்ளை ஆகும். இல்ல ரூலே இந்த ரூல் அப்ளை பண்ண கூடாதுன்னு சொன்னா அந்த ரூல் அப்ளை. However, any such modification or annulment would be without prejudice to the validity of anything previously done under that rule. நாங்க முன்னாடி ஏதாவது ரூல் போட்டிருந்தா அது எல்லாமே அப்படியே தான் இருக்கும். இந்த புது ரூலுக்கு தான் இவங்க வந்து கேன்சல் பண்ண சொல்லலாம் இல்ல மாடிஃபை பண்ண சொல்லாமே தவிர பழசுக்கு எதுவும் பண்ண முடியாது. Power to remove difficulty. If possible, please remove the difficulty by deleting this chapter. The central government is empowered to remove any difficulty which arises in giving effect to the provisions of this chapter. The only one difficulty is there to study. It may by order published in the official gazette, not inconsistent with the provision of this chapter, remove the difficulty. However, no such order shall be made after 31/3/2022. That means now no difficulty, you have to mandatory study. Every order made under this section shall be laid as soon as after it is made before each house of parliament. Hello sir. Yes, sir. What are the relevant provisions in the Income Tax Act? That is equalization levy. Yes, equalization levy வரணும்னா அது e-commerce transaction இருக்கணும். E-commerce transaction இருக்கணும்னா for example என்ன அவங்க சொல்ல வராங்க background என்னன்னு புரிஞ்சுக்கோ. For example, a non-resident is situated outside India. He is providing specified services to a person who are situated in India. Or e-commerce is situated outside India. He is supplying goods or services or both to a person who are situated in India. For that, they may ask a question, why we have to pay tax in India? Why are you deducting equalization levy at the rate of 6% or 2% as the case may be, either under section 165 or 165A as the case may be? Correct? Why are you asking us to follow the procedural aspects of furnishing of the statement, processing of the statement, rectification of the statement, appeal to the CIT, appeal to the ITAT, appeal to the High Court, appeal to the Supreme Court, hello? And putting penalty order, putting prosecution order, sir, putting me behind bar or jail after getting the permission from the higher authority. What mistake I have done? I am a person who are situated outside India. I have never come to your country India. I have not touched your country at all. Now உன் கண்ட்ரிக்கு வரவே இல்லை. நான் எங்க இருக்கேன்னா அவுட்சைட் இந்தியால இருந்து நான் e-commerce transaction பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கேன். சார் அவுட்சைட் இந்தியால இருந்து நான் வந்து ஸ்பெசிஃபைட் சர்வீசஸ் ப்ரொவைட் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கேன். இதுக்கு நான் ஏன் இந்தியால டாக்ஸ் கட்டணும்? That means Indian Income Tax Act should treat that transaction should be income accrued or raised in India. அது இருந்தாதான் அதுக்கு மேல என்ன கேட்க முடியும்னா டாக்ஸ் கேட்க முடியும். That means in order to levy GST, first it should fall under section 7. First it should fall under section 7. First it should be a supply. Correct? If it is a supply, then talk about 9. Levy and collection of CGST. If it is not at all a supply, if it is a negative list item, if it is covered under 7(2), then why are you looking for what? Levy of GST. Likewise, sir, first it should be a supply money. First, the income should be accrued or raised in India. That's what taken in section 9 of the what? Income Tax Act. Correct? So, section 5 is the scope of total income. Section 6 is residential status. Correct? Section 7, income deemed to accrue or raised, that is received, deemed to received. Correct? 8, we have not discussed. 9 is NSR, accrued or raised. So first adula vizhundada recovery taxability இத பத்தி நம்ம பேச வேண்டிய. So relevant provisions in the Income Tax Act 9 subsection 1 என்ன 1? As per section 9 subsection 1 clause 1, all income accruing or arising whether directly or indirectly through or from any connection in India is deemed to accrue or arise in India. Actually, as per section 9 subsection 1 clause 1, 4 elements are there. From any asset which is situated in India, from any source of income which is situated in India, from any business connection from India, hello sir, from any capital asset which is situated in India, we have already discussed in India, hello sir. In that one of the line is any connection? Business connection. One of the line is? This is the difference between DTAA and sir Income Tax Act, section 9 subsection 1 clause 1. Already discussed in India, don't worry, I will explain once again. What DTAA is saying that we are following article number 5. Article number 5 is talking about permanent establishment. That means if you are having a permanent establishment in India, if you are having a in India, then only business profit as per article number 7 will be taxable in India.
Yes, sir.
I discussed.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. What Income Tax Act is saying that no, permanent establishment is not the matter of taxation. Hello, sir. Business connection is a matter of taxation. So Income Tax Act is saying that enna connection irundale நாங்க இந்தியால business profit என்ன பண்ணுவோம் tax பண்ணுவோம். ஆனா சார் DTA என்ன சொல்லுதுன்னா business connectionல இருந்தா பத்தாது, permanent establishment இருந்தா தான் வேணும். So as per section 90 subsection 2 Kulandagan Chettiar, either the Income Tax Act or whichever is more beneficial to the assessee will be applicable. ஒரு சாது போடு. So even though it is not, even though it is more beneficial to the assessee, sir, DTA is more beneficial to the assessee than the Income Tax Act, DTA will be applicable. Yes, sir. Even though DTA is more beneficial than the Income Tax Act, DTA will not be applicable as per GAR. As per GAR, General Anti-Avoidance Rules. That's what our next discussion should be. That's what our, we understood what is double taxation avoidance agreement, purpose of DTAA. Yes, sir. Then we have talked about 3 interpretation of DTAA. Yes, sir. என்ன சுன்னந்தா என்னவன் படிச்சே நீ? Pacta sun servanda. As per Vienna Convention, correct? It should be in NFA. Good faith. So we learned how to interpret the DTAA. Yes, sir. We have learned what are the model tax convention. Yes, sir. And we have learned the BEPS initiatives, 15 BEPS initiative. Actually, we are in the first BEPS initiative, right? So, what 90 subsection 2 is saying that, my dear lovable students, either the Income Tax Act or whichever is more beneficial to the assessee. But, if it is covered under GAR, it is overriding the entire provisions of the Act. That should be our next discussion. That is the advanced to advanced issues we are going to discuss. Don't worry at all. We are only in the advanced issues. We are having one more, SAR and GAR. What is SAR? Specific Anti-Avoidance Rules. What is SAR? What is SAR? We have completed that by taking many classes SAR. Only pending is GAR. I will be completing GAR. We have already completed SAR. We are only pending with the GAR. I will explain you at the appropriate time. Alright. So as per section 9 subsection 1 clause 1, all income accruing or arising whether directly or indirectly through or from any connection in India. Business connection in India is deemed to accrue or arise in India. Deemed to accrue or arise in India. So business connection in India. What DTAA is saying that there should be a permanent establishment. But what Income Tax Act is saying that we don't believe in permanent establishment. We believe in explanation 2A provides that significant economic presence. I already highlighted this as SEP. Significant economic presence of a non-resident in India would also constitute a business connection in India. This is one of the recommendations of the OECD. They said that alter the definition of business connection, right? If you want to tax in the country, source country, hello? Yes, sir. Make it the scope more wide. by amending the definition. So they have inserted SEP clause. In a clause? What is SEP clause? Significant economic presence. Significant. What they are trying to say ultimately, I will tell you, man. For example, sir, just give you a small example and I will sir, read that whatever pending. Sir, there is a house. This is your house. Okay, wow. Alright, sir. Sir, nearby, sir, one more house is there. This is the either neighbor's house or sir, next house. Majority of the time, you are not in your house. You are spending your time in this house. You are going there. You are coming here. You are going and watching TV. You are talking to the people who are beside, and you are making them cry. So, like this. Like this. So what I can say now, you are having a significant presence in this house. So I will say that you are form part of this house. That's what income tax logic also. You are a non-resident, but you are having a significant presence, economic presence. You are having SEP in India. Once you are having SEP in India, hello sir, then there is a business connection in India. There is a business connection in India. This is important because this is form part of 9 subsection 1 class 1 may test in MCQ, right? In respect of any goods or services or property carried out by any resident with any person in India, including provision of download of data or software in India. That means you are a non-resident who are situated outside India, my dear lovable students. You are supplying any goods, services, property or intangible or software or anything to IRK, India. Sir, when I will say that, where you are situated? Outside India. What you are doing? Providing goods, services, provision of software, all those stuff to IRK. Indian people. When I will say that you are having SEP in India, what is SEP? Aggregate of payment arising from such transaction or transaction during the previous year should exceed a crore. 2 கோடிக்கு மேல இருந்தாதான் 2 கோடிக்கு மேல transaction value இருந்தாதான் உனக்கு இந்தியால என்ன இருக்குன்னு சொல்வேன். Equalization levy. Sir, eco turnover should exceed. This 2 crore is what that 2 crore. If that eco is having more than 2 crore business in India, then I can say that he's having SEP in India. Once he's having SEP in India, I can say that he's having business connection in India. Once he's having business connection in India, I can say that income is accrued in India. Are you all ready with me? Once he's having NSR, once the income is accrued in provisions of 165 or 165A will be applicable. Ingirundu ponum scratch la irundu. Puriyudha unakku? Right. Systematic and continuous soliciting of business activity, engage in interaction with NI in India. Users in India. That means you are soliciting clients of business activities or engage in interaction. Engage in? The number of users should be at least 3 lakhs. The data survey or something you are doing, that the user account should be more than? If you are having more, this is not value, not 3 lakhs, value the number of users. The number of users should be more than? If you are having more than 3 lakh, then I will say that you are having SEP in India. What is SEP? Further, the above transaction or activity shall constitute significant economic presence in whether or not, number 1, the agreement for such transaction or activities in India. If the value has been satisfied, more than 2 crore or more than 3 lakh user, we will not check where you have entered the agreement. It is immaterial for us. The non-resident as a residence or place of NI in India. We will not see whether you are having a residence or place of business in India. It is all immaterial for us. The non-resident renders NI in India. Have you NSR provided service in India? This condition and all we will not check. Okay? However, a business connection is established by reason of SEP in India. In case business connection established, only so much of income as is attributable to the transaction or activity referred in what or what, A or B, and the 2 crore and the 3 lakhs circular above shall be deemed to accrue or reason in India. That means, sir, you are a non-resident. Global income is not taxable in India. Don't worry about it. Are you understanding? You may be an e-commerce operator who may be situated outside India. You may be doing business to India. You may be doing business to England. You may be doing business to Australia. You may be doing business to Japan. Are you really with me? From India, if you are getting more than 2 crore, then we will say you are having SEP in India. Once you are having SEP in India, we establish the business connection. Once we establish the business connection, we will say that income has been accrued or arising in India. Then we will apply provisions of 165 or 165A. Then you are supposed to pay tax either 6% or 2% as that. Only for these transactions we will be what? Levying tax. Don't worry that for the gross total income or the gross aggregate, we will not ask you the tax. அது நியாயம் கிடையாது, அது அநியாயம். எங்களுக்கு கிடைக்க வேண்டியது எங்களுக்கு கிடைச்சா போதும். கரெக்டா இல்லையா? Class A of explanation 1 to section 9 subsection 1 class 1 provides that in case of business other than the business having any connection in India on account of SEP of which all the operations are not carried out in India, income deemed to accrue or arise in India would only be such part of income as is reasonably attributable to the operation in India. That means if any business does not fall within the condition of SEP, எதுல விழலைன்னு வெச்சுக்கோ, SEPல விழலைனா they don't have a business connection with India, then their income is not accruation in India. But if they are arriving any income by doing any business activity in India, then for that they are liable to pay tax in India. அது அந்த அளவுக்கு கட்டினா போதும், அது இல்லாம அவங்க வந்து tax கட்ட வேண்டிய. Explanation 3A provides that income attributable to operation carried out in India would include income from. ஏன்னா இங்க பாரு சார், section 9 subsection 1 கீழ ஒரு explanation கொடுத்திருக்காங்களா? இந்த எக்ஸ்பிளனேஷன்ல என்ன சொல்றாங்கன்னா, in case of business other than the business having என்ன in India. இப்போ ஏதோ ஒரு பிசினஸ்க்கு வந்து இந்தியால பிசினஸ் கனெக்ஷன் எஸ்டாப்லிஷ் பண்ண முடியல on account of என்ன இல்லாததனால, SEP இல்லாததனால, significant of which all the operations are not in India. சில ஆபரேஷன் இந்தியாக்கு வெளியும் சில ஆபரேஷன் இந்தியாக்குள்ள இது income deemed to accrue or arise in India would only be what? Such part of the income as is reasonably attributable to the operation carried out in India. இந்தியாவோட எச்சத்தனத்தை பாருங்க. என்னன்னா DTAA என்ன சொல்றாங்கன்னா, permanent establishment இருந்தா தான் business இன்கத்துல என்ன பண்ண முடியும்? டாக்ஸ் பண்ண முடியும். permanent establishmentங்கற கான்செப்ட்க்கே இன்கம் டாக்ஸ் போல. என்ன சொன்னாங்கன்னா, எங்களுக்கு permanent establishment வேண்டாம், business connection போதும். அதுக்கு கீழே explanation போட்டு அடிச்சு தாக்கி அச்சேன்னு தும்முனா உனக்கு business connection வரும்னு சொல்லிட்டாங்க. அதுக்கு தான் செப்புங்கிற கான்செப்ட் எடுத்துட்டு வந்தாங்க. ஓகேவா? செப்பு 2 கோடிக்கு மேல இந்தியால பிசினஸ் ஆகுது, 3 லட்சம் பீப்புளுக்கு மேல நீ வந்து என்ன வச்சிருக்க? யூசர்ஸ் வச்சிருக்க. ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் சிம் கார்டு ப்ரொவைட் பண்ற, இல்ல டேட்டா ஆன்லைன் இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் ஏதோ ஒன்று ப்ரொவைட் பண்ற, Instagram social media account provide பண்ற, anything my dear lovable students, Facebook, Twitter, anything. So you are having more than 3 lakh people following any of these things, we will call you as SEP. SEP in India means you are having business connection in India. If you are having business connection in India means income deemed to accrue in India, then you are liable to pay tax in India. Sir, government has tried their level best to include one of the non-resident in the SEP condition, but உள்ள விழ மாட்டேங்கிறான். ஓகேவா? அது 2 கோடிக்கு கீழ இருக்கு, 3 லட்சம் சப்ஸ்கிரைபர்ஸ்க்கு கீழ இருக்காங்க. அப்படினா அவன் செப்ல விழறேனா அவனுக்கு என்ன கனெக்ஷன் இல்ல. அப்ப கவர்மெண்ட் என்ன சொல்றாங்க, நீ டாக்ஸே கட்ட வேண்டாம்னு சொல்லல. திருப்பி வராங்க, சரி உனக்கு 2 லட்சம் ரூபாய் இல்லப்பா, ஹலோ சார் 2 கோடி ரூபாய் இல்லப்பா, உனக்கு 50 லட்சம் ரூபாய் பிசினஸ் ஆயிருக்குல்ல, அந்த 50 லட்சம் ரூபாய்க்கு என்ன கட்டு? டாக்ஸ் கட்டு. இதுக்கு நீ எல்லாரும் டாக்ஸ் கட்டணும்னு சொல்லியிருந்தா போதும். கரெக்ட். இப்போ क्वेश्चन அது அப்படி சொல்றதுக்கு என்ன சொல்றேன்னா, only reasonably attributable to the operation carried out in India. இந்தியால கேரி அவுட் பண்ண என்ன சார் ஆபரேஷன் மட்டும் இந்தியால என்ன கட்டினா போதும் டாக்ஸ். இப்போ டவுட் அரைஸ், சார் அது எதெல்லாம் சார்? அது நம்பர் 1 explanation 3A provides that. இதனால தான் DTA வேணாம்னு சொன்னோம். ஏன்னா DTA னா ஏதோட முடிஞ்சு போயிடும், பியோட முடிஞ்சு போயிடும். இது அப்படி இல்ல. பிசினஸ் கனெக்ஷன், செப், நாட் கவர்டு, எக்ஸ்பிளனேஷன், ப்ரொவைசோ, சாவடி. Explanation 3A provides that income attributable to the operation carried out in India would include income from, and the non-resident இந்த 3 ஏரியால இருந்து என்ன வருதுனா, we will say that income is attributable from India. Such advertisement which targets a customer who என்ன in India or who access the advertisement through IPA located in India. அப்ப நீ advertisement service provide பண்ணிருக்க, எங்களோட கஸ்டமர் நீ டார்கெட் பண்ணிருக்க, இல்லனா எங்களோட கஸ்டமர் ஐபி அட்ரஸ்ல தட்டி பார்த்திருக்கான், கட்டி இந்தியால டாக்ஸ். Sale of data collected from a person who resides in India or from a person who use IPA located in India. Sale of goods or service using data collected from a person who resides in India or from a person who uses IPA located in India. அப்ப என்னதான் சொல்ல வர, accordingly such income would be deemed to accrue or arise in India in the hands of any resident, non-resident, and be subject to income tax in his hands. இதுக்கு நீ என்ன சொல்லியிருக்கணும்னா வாட் எவர் இன்கம் earned by the non-resident in India will be taxable in India. இதுக்கு செப்பு கிப்பு நான் சொல்லிட்டு வந்துட்டு ரைட்டு தி above provision. பட் இது என்ன மேட்டர்னா இதோட கலாய்க்கிறது ஓகே, இதோட கரெக்ட் எக்ஸ்பிளனேஷன் என்னன்னா சார் there are two possibilities are there, SEP condition satisfied, SEP condition not satisfied. ஓகேவா? SEP condition satisfied மாட்டிக்கிட்ட பங்கு கரெக்டா? It will be say that you are having a business connection with India. If you are having business connection with India, then income accrued or arising in India as per section 9 subsection 1 class 1, that's it, you are liable to pay tax in India. Sir, if SEP condition is not satisfied, that income can be classified into two categories, three income other than three income. Idha adoda enna sir interpretation that three income means a sale of advertisement targeting the Indian customer, number 2 sale of data which is collected from the resident, number 3 sale of goods or services through the data collected through that something, correct? If these three things are there, then it will be treated as income attributable to earn from where? India. இந்த மூணு இன்கம் இல்லாம நான் ரெசிடென்ட்க்கு வேற ஏதாவது இன்கம் வந்துச்சுன்னா நாட் டாக்ஸபிள் இன் இந்தியா. புரியுதா இல்லையா? சோ அப்ப நீ நான் ரெசிடென்ட் எப்படி யோசிக்கணும்னா this is the analysis of this my dear lovable students. நான் ரெசிடென்ட் எப்படி யோசிக்கணும்னா ஹலோ சார் whether he is having SEP in India. If he is having SEP in India, that's it, all the income will be taxable in India. All the income, not the global income. Income attributable to the SEP will be taxable in India. Okay, wow. Sir, SEP condition has not been satisfied, sir. Then don't think that is escaped from India. Check whether he is having three income from India or not. If he is having three income from India, he is liable to pay tax in India. Otherwise, he is not liable to pay tax in India. The above provision contained in this explanation shall also apply to income attributable to transaction or activity referred in explanation 2A, which constitute SEP. SEP in the income நாங்க include பண்ணுவோம், SEP நாங்க இத tax பண்ணுவோம். The above provision broadens the scope of income attributable to the operation carried out in India கண்டிப்பா and brings within the tax net the above specified income. This impact will also enable taxation of non-resident to non-resident. Transaction pertaining to above mentioned activity, section 295 empowers CBDT to make rules for carrying out the purpose of the act. Also 295 subsection 2 enlists the specific matters in respect of CBDT may make rules. Though through amendment made in 295 subsection 2 class B, it is expected that CBDT will issue rules to determine the profit taxable in India by virtue of explanation 3A. Section 9 subsection 1 class 1 require existence of enna connection for deeming enna income to accrue or arise in India. DTAA however provide that business income is taxable only if there is, as per section 90 subsection 2 provision of the Income Tax Act or the DTAA whichever is shall apply. The PE concept is narrower than the interconnection. அதனால தான் income tax act எதை choose பண்ணிட்டாங்க? Because business connection concept is wider. Who is narrower? Therefore, in a case where Indian government has entered into a DTAA with a country, unless and until what test is satisfied, significant economic provisions would not be applicable because either Income Tax Act or DTAA, whichever is more beneficial. Correct? Once the India has entered into DTAA, my dear lovable students, automatically PE concept come into play. So SEP does not have any role there to play. Hello, sir. Then in order to tax the business profit, that should be permanent establishment. However, in case not covered by DTAA, business income attributable to business connection, significant economic presence is taxable. So, DTAA irukna business profit will be taxable based on DTAA illena business profit will be taxed based on SEP. Correct? So, the one line summary of the entire discussion is you have to check whether DTAA what or not, exist or not. Exist or not. We practically understood that out of 200 countries approx, we are having DTA with 100 countries. Correct? So if DTA enna varunda exist arunda, business profit will be taxable as per PE concept. Whereas no DTAA, business profit will be taxable as per SEP concept. What is SEP? Significant economic presence. In order to have significant economic presence, your business should be more than 2 crore and you should have account holders of more than 3 lakhs. If these two conditions satisfied, then you can say that NSR SEP. There again this chart will be routine. If there is no DTAA, there is no SEP, then you have to check whether the income is accrued or risen from 3 activities or not. If yes, it is taxable in India, otherwise it is exempted from India. I hope that you are able to appreciate or understand. Hello, sir. We are in the finalization stage. We are going to complete this man. These are really important 3 parts. Very important. Whatever we have discussed till now, adilinde romba important part. Romba simple ana vishayam solranga. Sir, the Indian resident or the e-commerce operator is liable to pay equalization levy. You will be collecting 6%. You will be deducting 6%. Or as an e-commerce operator, you will be paying 2% to the government of India. You tell me, under section 44 AD, which is presumptive taxation, either 8% or 8%? 6% or 8% as the case may be. There 6% is applicable for non-cash transactions. Correct? 8% is applicable if the payment is made other than by account pay check or account pay bank draft or electronic clearance system or such other electronic mode as may be prescribed. So my dear lovable students, the same 6% only borrowed here for even for equalization levy also. Same 6%. So once the tax has been levied at the rate of 6%, whatever income earned by the non-resident is exempted in India. Isn't it? அது திருப்பி ஒரு இந்தியால tax return file பண்ணி tax கட்ட வேண்டிய. That's what 10 subsection 50 section 1010 gratuity 1010 pension 1010 leave salary like that it goes. 10 subsection 50 in order to avoid any taxation on account of any levy and income tax liability under the provisions of Income Tax Act section 10 subsection 50 exempt any income arising from providing any NS services on or after the date on which the provision of chapter 8 of the Finance Act come into force or arising from any e-commerce supply of services made or provided or facilitated on or after any date and chargeable to equalization levy under that chapter. That means once an income is suffered equalization levy under section 165 or 165A of the Income Tax Act, then that income will be fully exempted in the hands of any resident, non-resident. However, the income arising from providing NS services and the income arising from any NS supply or service would not include any income which is taxable as a royalty or fees for technical service in India under the Income Tax Act read with DTAA notified by central government under section 90 or what? Sir, royalty fees for technical service in India ku in the equalization levy ku sambandham illa. அதெல்லாம் நாங்க தனி provision create பண்ணி வச்சிருக்கோம் அது equalization levy எடுத்துட்டு வர கூடாது. Royalty or fees for technical service we want 20%. Correct இல்லையா? Yes sir. 44 DA ல விழுந்தா we want 40% as if we are treating it as a foreign company. Correct? Exemption under section 1050 is available in respect of amount which have been subjected to any levy. However, in case of transaction in respect of equalization levies dash attracted, provisions of Income Tax Act as applicable will apply. That means what they are trying to say, my dear lovable students. When you make payment for specified services to a non-resident situated outside India or when the e-commerce operator has paid 2% to the government of India, then that income is exempted in his hands under section 10 subsection 50. So for any income equalization levy provisions attracted, it is exempted in the hands of the non-resident under section 10 subsection 50. Otherwise, it is subject to normal provisions of the Act. This is what 10 subsection 50 is all about. Now, you are a businessman. Once you are a businessman, then only provisions of equalization levy will be applicable. You will be paying amount for the online advertisement and you will be debiting that in the P&L account as advertisement charges, correct? You want to claim that as a deduction while calculating PGBP income. In order to ensure compliance with the provisions of this chapter, section 40A subsection 1B provides that if any consideration is paid or payable to any resident for a specified service on which equalization levy is leviable and such levy has not been deducted on or after deduction, has not been paid on or after the due date under what section? Then such expense incurred by assessee towards consideration for specified service shall not be allowed as a. That means you have debited an expense which are supposed to be deducted equalization levy, but you have not deducted the levy, or you have deducted but not paid to the credit of the central government, then whatever expense you have debited to P&L account should be added back. However, where in respect of such consideration, if the equalization levy has been deducted in any what year? That means current year you have not deducted, next year you have deducted, or has been deducted during the year, but paid after the due date specified under section 139 subsection 1. Such sum shall be allowed as deduction in computing the income of the previous year in which such levy has been paid. Note, the disallowance will be attracted only in case of equalization levy on what services? That is specified services. Because that guy, who is the person liable to pay equalization levy? Because you want debit or credit that item, correct? Where the onus is on the service recipient to deduct the equalization levy, right? So this disallowance will be applicable only for, that means, so disallowance for classified into two category. Number one, specified services, and number two, e-commerce operator. For specified services, disallowance will be applicable. For e-commerce operator, disallowance not applicable. Appreciate Pandrani. I am moving 194O, the last section from the equalization levy. Section 194O provides that where the sale of goods or provision of services of a NA participant is facilitated by what? Through its digital or NA facility, such e-commerce operator is liable to deduct tax at the rate of the gross amount of such sales or service or both at the time of credit of amount of such sale or service or both to the account of an e-commerce participant or at the time of payment thereof to such e-commerce participant by any mode, whichever is what. However, no tax is required to be deducted under what section? In case of any sum credited or paid to an e-commerce participant being a dash or dash, where the gross receipts of such sale or service or both during the previous year does not exceed, and such e-commerce participant has furnished his PAN or Aadhaar number to the e-commerce operator. This we have already discussed in TDS chapter. Even we have discussed that in class also. Yes, sir. We have discussed 194O in depth. We have analyzed. Hello, sir. So what is the one line summary? If you have missed the discussion, sir, the e-commerce operator is liable to deduct TDS when he make payment to the e-commerce participant, sir, at the rate of 1%. Correct? But if the e-commerce participant is individual or HUF, and if the turnover does not exceed 5 lakhs and he has provided the PAN or Aadhaar, then no TDS has to be deducted under section 194. This is the summary of provision relating to equalization levy. For examination, we need only this table from here onwards. Okay, wow. Sir, nature of levy, sir, 165, 165A, 194O. Wow, fantastic. 3 sections we are going to compare. Nature of levy deduction, 165 is a equalization levy. 165A is a, whereas 194O is TDS. Because these two are not TDS because credit cannot be taken. This credit can be taken. That's why that is the difference between these 3 sections. Purida. Chargeability of equalization levy or deductibility of income tax on consideration received or receivable by an assessee being a resident, non-resident for NS services, specified service. So if a non-resident is getting consideration for any specified services provided to a person who are located in taxable territory, then the person who are located in taxable territory is the person liable to collect. On consideration received or receivable by an operator being a non-resident owning, operating or managing digital or electronic platform or platform for online sale of goods or online provision of service or both for e-commerce supply or supply made or provided or facilitated. Consideration received or receivable from e-commerce supply or service would also include, we have already studied this, consideration for sale of goods irrespective of whether the e-commerce operator dash the goods or not. However, it shall not include consideration for sale of such goods which are owned by a person dash in India or by a PE in India of a person non-resident in India if the sale of such goods is effectively connected with what? And consideration for provision of service irrespective of whether the service is provided or facilitated by an operator. என்ன சொல்றாங்க அந்த goods e-commerce operator own பண்ணாலும் சரி வேற யாராவது own பண்ணாலும் சரி அந்த service e-commerce operator provide பண்ணாலும் சரி வேற யாராவது provide பண்ணாலும் சரி everything will form part of turnover. Correct? However, it shall not include consideration for provision of service provided by a person resident in India or by PE in India of a person non-resident in India if provision of such service is effectively connected with such a PE. Then now, what is 194O TDS? Sir, when a sale of dash or dash or dash of a e-commerce participant being a person in India selling goods or providing service or both including a product is facilitated by an operator through its digital or electronic facility or platform, such e-commerce operator is liable to deduct tax at source at the time of credit or payment, whichever is. That means 165 la equalization levy yaar pudikkum? Specified person. 165A la 194O la. Super sir, fantastic sir. Sir, note the consideration received or receivable for specified services and for e-commerce supply would however not include consideration which are taxable as royalty or what? India under the Income Tax Act, read with DTAA notified by central government under section 1998. In the consideration kulla yaar varamatana royalty and fees for, because for that we are having either section 115A subsection 1 class B or 44 DA as the case may be. What is the rate? 6%, 2%, 1%. Clarity. Person responsible for paying or deducting, man. Every person being a dash and carrying on business or profession or non-resident having dash in India. An e-commerce operator being a non-resident who owns, operate or manage digital or electronic facility or platform for online sale of goods or online provision of service or both. E-commerce operator shall deem to be a person responsible for paying to the what? A resident e-commerce participant. Further, whenever the purchaser of goods or service recipient, example, a customer, directly makes any payment to the participant, then in such case, such payment shall be deemed to have been made by yaar? To the resident, sir, e-commerce participant. That means, sir, this we already discussed in the class. E-commerce operator is there and customer is there, and e-commerce participant is also there. Correct? If the e-commerce customer has directly made payment to e-commerce participant, customer has made, it will be treated as who has made the payment. Yes, sir. And accordingly, deduction has to be made by an operator, e-commerce operator. Even on the portion, TDS. Consideration on which equalization levy is chargeable or income tax is deductible. In the amount of consideration for specified service received or received by a person being a resident from a person resident in India and carrying on business or profession, or non-resident having the amount of consideration received or receivable by e-commerce operator from e-commerce supply or service made or provided or facilitated by to a person in India or to a non-resident in the specified circumstance, namely sale of advertisement which targets a customer who is resident in India or customer who accesses the advertisement through IP address in India, and sale of data and collected from a person who is resident in India or from a person who uses IPA located in, or to a person who buys such goods or service or both using IPA located in India. Here, sir, on the gross amount of sale or service or both, on gross amount, e-commerce operator is liable to deduct TDS at the rate of 1%. What are the meaning of certain terms? They are going to for definition. Specified services means it is online advertisement, any provision of digital advertisement space or other facility or service for purpose of online advertisement, any other service as may be notified by the central government. Online means a facility or service or right or benefit access that is obtained through the internet or any other form of digital or telecommunication network. E-commerce supply or service mean online sale of goods owned by the yaar, online provision or service provided by the yaar, online sale of goods or provision or service or both facilitated by the any combination of activity listed in 1, 2 and 3. Online sale of goods and service would include one or more of the following online activity: acceptance of NF for sale, placing of, acceptance of the payment of, supply of goods or provision of service partly or wholly. This we already discussed. Service include fees for technical and professional services as defined in 194J of the Income Tax Act. Here, and for the purpose of 194O, even NSR fees for professional or technical service covered under 194J is also covered. Non-chargeability. Equalization levy is not chargeable where non-resident providing the specified service has a dash in India and the specified service is effectively connected with such P. The aggregate amount of consideration for specified service received or receivable in a previous year by a non-resident from a person resident in India and carrying on business or from a non-resident having P in India does not exceed 1 lakh. The same chapter actually we are rereading, correct? Where the payment for specified service by a person resident in India or the P in India is not for the purpose for carrying out what or what. Okay, man. Inga equalization levy is not chargeable where the e-commerce operator making or providing or facilitating any supply or service as a NI in India and such e-commerce supply or service is effectively connected with such a where the equalization levy is leviable under sales turnover or gross receipts as the case may be of e-commerce operator from the e-commerce supply or service made or provided or facilitated is less than 2 crore, because if it is less than 2 crore, SEP will not be there. Correct? No tax is required to be deducted under 194 in case of any sum credited or paid to a e-commerce participant being dash or dash, where the gross amount of such sale or service or both during the previous year does not exceed such e-commerce participant as furnished PAN or Aadhaar number to the e-commerce operator. Clarity. Sir, can you say the entire chapter in one chart? Yes, before the day of examination, this one chart is more than enough. The same thing they have repeated once again. Hello. Equalization levy on what services? 6% of the amount of consideration received or receivable. Correct? What is specified services? It is online advertisement, provision for digital advertisement space or any other facility or service of online advertisement or any other service notified by the government. Sir, by a non-resident not having a or providing service not effectively connected with his PE in India. From a resident in India carrying on what or from a non-resident having a NI in India. Does aggregate amount of such consideration received or receivable for specified service by non-resident exceed a lakh? Your answer may be yes or no. No means equalization levy. Sir, if yes means what is attracted? What is the deduction? Equalization levy at the rate of is deductible from consideration paid or payable for specified service by a resident carrying on business or non-resident having India. Then remittance of equalization levy deducted during any month to be paid to the credit of the central government by 7th of the next month. And consequence of failure to deduct equalization levy, the first consequence, the person liable to deduct equalization levy has in any case paid the equalization levy to the credit of the central government by 7th of the next month, whether you have deducted or not. Correct? Simple interest at the rate of or part of a month is attracted for the period of delay in remittance. Penalty is equal to amount of equalization levy deductible. For delayed remittance, penalty at the rate of or failure attracted not exceeding the amount of equalization levy. Disallowance of the entire consideration attracted under 40A subsection 1B. Are you able to connect each and every point? Yes, sir. Equalization levy on e-commerce supply or services. The second part, 2% of the amount of consideration received or receivable, right? By a e-commerce operator, that is a non-resident who owns, operate or manage digital or electronic facility or platform for online sale or goods or online provision or service or both. Sir, what is the meaning of e-commerce supply of goods? Online sale of goods owned by e-commerce operator, online provision of services provided by e-commerce operator, online sale of goods or provision or services both facilitated by e-commerce operator or any combination thereof. The same earlier was in table, now is in chart. The same. Sir, from e-commerce supply or service made to or that. Then you have to check to a non-resident for the following specified circumstance, either for sale of advertisement or sale of what? Data. Or to a person resident in India or to a person who buys such goods or services using IP located in India. The answer may be yes, no. Does the e-commerce operator have PE in India? If yes means what, man? Is the e-commerce supplier service effectively connected with such PE? Your answer may be yes means equalization levy will not be attracted. No means you have to check. Equalization levy is attracted sales turnover or gross revenues of the e-commerce operator from the e-commerce supplier service made or provided facilities 1 crore or more. Payment of equalization levy, this is quarterly basis. Yeah. Equalization levy to be paid by every e-commerce operator to the credit of the central government for the quarter of financial year 30 June, September, October, March. A. Specified service who is responsible? Specified person. Where is there? That's why monthly. We can't force him to pay on consequences are equalization levy under section 166A. Simple interest at the rate of 1% under section 170. Penalty amount of equalization levy that has failed to pay. Are you really with me? Yes. With this we can say that we have completely done with the first part of this chapter. We are having VDA, which is virtual digital assets. We have talked something about VDA, but here ICI has given questions relating to VDA that I'll be doing. I'll just go through what is the book back question, what they have given. We are having around 5, 6, 6, 6, article 13, oh my god. Six questions are there. We'll read the question. Examine the core reason for difference between e-commerce transaction and traditional business transaction causing difficulty to tax the income of any transaction. Because in traditional business transaction, we'll be able to know where the transaction is starting, where the transaction is ending, who is making the transaction, who is utilizing the transaction. But in e-commerce transaction, all this will be a difficulty. So, what they are trying to say, the answer. The core reason for difference between e-commerce transaction and traditional business transaction causing difficulty to the tax and income from e-commerce transaction under the income tax are absence of any boundary. The main பிரச்சனை. யார் ஆரம்பிக்கிறா, யார் முடிக்கிறா, யார் வாங்குறா, யார் யூட்டிலைஸ் பண்றா எதுவுமே தெரியாது. National boundaries absence. No requirement of physical presence of goods. No requirement of physical delivery. இது எதுவுமே இருக்காது. யார் வாங்குனா, யார் வித்தானே தெரியாது. Since e-commerce transactions are complete in cyberspace, it is often not clear as to the place where the transaction is effected, thereby causing difficulty in implementing source rule taxation. அதனால நம்மளால source rule போட்டு அந்த source இருந்து இன்கத்தை எடுக்க முடியுது இல்ல, டாக்ஸை வாங்க முடியுது இல்ல. This is the main difficulty we are facing. Clear? Moving to the next one. E-commerce transaction is replaced concept generally associated with international transaction traditionally. Discuss briefly the transaction issues involving such transaction. Same similar type of question. The typical taxation issue relating to e-commerce are difficulty in characterizing the end of payment, nature of payment, and establishing a nexus or link between taxable transaction, activity and taxing jurisdiction. சார் நிறைய டிரான்சாக்ஷன் ஆன்லைன் நடக்கிறதுனால அது எது டாக்ஸபிள் டிரான்சாக்ஷன் எக்ஸாம் டிரான்சாக்ஷன் கண்டுபிடிக்க முடியுதில்லை, என்ன ஆக்டிவிட்டி பண்ணிட்டு காசு கொடுக்குறேன்னு கண்டுபிடிக்க முடியுதில்லை. டாக்ஸிங் ஜூரிஸ்டிக்ஷன் அது இந்தியாவில் டாக்ஸ் பண்ணமா, சோர்ஸ் கண்ட்ரியா, ரெசிடென்ட் கண்ட்ரியா, நீ சோர்ஸா நீ ரெசிடெண்டா, மாயமா இருக்கு மந்திரமா இருக்கு, காசு மட்டும் இங்கிருந்து அங்கே போகுது. The difficulty of dash the transaction, activity and identifying the taxpayer for income tax purpose. Transaction எங்களால வந்து கண்டுபிடிக்க முடியுதில்லை, யார் டாக்ஸ் கட்டணும்னு கண்டுபிடிக்க முடியுதில்லை, எதுவுமே எங்களால் முடியுதில்லை. This like this an application question will come in examination. Sometimes from equalization will be a 6-mark question used to ask. I am not saying always, sometimes. ABC Limited, an Indian company, is carrying on the business of manufacture and sale of teakwood furniture under the brand name Pure Wood. In order to expand its overseas sales or export, it launched a massive advertisement campaign of its product. For the purpose of online advertisement, it utilizes the service of PQR Incorporation, a London-based company. During the previous year 23-24, ABC Limited has paid 5 lakh, very important, correct, more than 1 lakh to PQR Incorporation for such services. Discuss tax implication or TDS implication of such payment and receipt in the hands of ABC Limited and PQR Incorporation respectively. If PQR Incorporation has no permanent establishment in India, correct, equalization levy will be applicable. Sir, PQR Incorporation has a permanent establishment in India and the service is effectively connected to the permanent establishment in India, then equalization levy will not be applicable. Normal provisions of the Income Tax Act will be applicable. Look at the comfort what you are feeling now. If the same question without discussion come in exam, you would have left that question and came. But now you can easily score that 5 to 6 mark, my dear lovable students. That's what I am saying. We'll be completing 100% and will be getting good marks. Wow. Chapter 8 of the Finance Act, Equalization Levy, provides for an equalization levy of 8% of the amount of consideration for specified service received or receivable by a non-resident not having what in India, from a resident in India who carries out business or profession, or from a non-resident having P in India. Specified service means online advertisement, any provision for digital advertising space or any other facility or service for the purpose of online advertisement, and any other service as may be notified by the central government. However, equalization levy shall not be levied where the non-resident providing the specified service has a what in India and the specified service is effectively connected with such what establishment. During the aggregate amount of consideration for specified service received or receivable during the previous year does not exceed where the payment for specified service is not for the purpose of carrying out what or what business or. The first part where PQR Incorporation has no NI in India. In the present case, equalization levy at 8% is chargeable on the amount of 8 lakh received by PQR Incorporation, a non-resident not having P in India from ABC Limited, an Indian company. Accordingly, ABC Limited is required to deduct what? Of rupees 30,000, that is 6% of rupees 8 lakh. Being the amount paid towards online advertisement services provided by PQR Incorporation, non-resident having no permanent establishment in India. Super. Non-deduction of NLV would attract disallowance under what section? Of 100% of the amount paid while computing the business income. Appo, you are liable to deduct equalization levy, otherwise 100% of the amount debited to PN account should be NA back. Since equalization levy is attracted on the amount of 8 lakh, the said amount is exempt from income tax by virtue of section 1050 of the Income Tax Act. Whatever we discussed, same is there, correct? Where PQR Incorporation has an establishment and the service is effectively connected to the NI in India, equalization levy would not be attracted. And the case of equalization levy enavadu. Where the non-resident service provider, that is PQR in this case, as a permanent establishment in India and service is effectively connected to the permanent establishment in India. Therefore, the ABC Limited is not required to deduct NLV, being the amount paid towards online advertisement to PQR Incorporation in this case. Since equalization levy is not attracted in this case, exemption under what? Would not be available. Therefore, tax has to be deducted by what? At the rate in force under what section? This is very important. Under section 190 in respect of such payment to yark. Non-deduction of tax at source under 195 would attract disallowance under 40A subsection 1 of 8% of the amount paid while computing the business income. Have you understood how the section changes? அப்போ PE இருக்கு PE இல்லை. This is the summary. சார் PE இல்லை PE இருக்கு. PE இல்லைனா equalization levy attract ஆகும், இங்க attract ஆகாது. கரெக்டா? இங்க சார் section 10 subsection 50 equalization levy attract ஆச்சுனா attract ஆகும், இங்க attract ஆகாது. கரெக்டா? Disallowance 40A subsection 1B. B stands for broadcasting. 40A subsection 1. Correct? Yes, sir. Then, sir, TDS inga pudikka vendiya avasiyam illa. Adan equalization levy pudikira illaya. Inga 195 la TDS pudikanum. This is what the carry for your examination, my dear lovable students. One table summarizing the entire question, which is if you are having P and if you are not having P. I am reading the next question for your benefit. This is a 6-mark question asked in examination. Question number 4. MNO Incorporation, a country A-based company, is carrying on the business of manufacture and sale of furniture under the brand name Pure Wood. In order to increase its shares in Indian market, actually ulta, it launched a massive advertisement campaign of its product. For the purpose of online advertisement, it utilized the service of PQR Incorporation, a country Y-based company, which also owns and operating in a platform. The gross receipts of PQR Incorporation from provision of such service during the previous year 23-24 is 3 crore. 3 crore. More than? During the previous year 23-24, MNO Incorporation paid 5 lakh to PQR Incorporation for such services. Discuss the taxability of such payment and received in the hands of MNO Incorporation and PQR Incorporation respectively if both MNO Incorporation, PQR Incorporation has no NI in India. MNO Incorporation has a permanent establishment in India, but PQR Incorporation has no permanent establishment in India. PQR Incorporation has a permanent establishment in India, and the advertisement services are effectively connected with such NSR permanent establishment. One question, correct? Entire concept is there. You tell me, this is concept based question. Yarallam sollu. MNO Incorporation, then PQR Incorporation. Rendu per enga irukanga? Outside India. Yarukku service provide pandra? PQR MNO kudukranga. Enna service? Specified services. Specified? Okay. Advertisement services. Consideration? 3 crores. Alright. In the advertisement, enga panna poranga? Targeting? Targeting? Indian market. Inga va. இப்போ நீ question படிக்கும்போது என்னென்ன data pick பண்ணனும் புரிஞ்சுச்சா? MNO Incorporation, a country A-based company, is carrying on the business of manufacture and sale of furniture under the brand name what? In order to increase its share in enga? It launched a appo Indian market la share increase பண்ணனும்னா Indian market la advertise பண்ணியாகணும். Deemed, understood. For the purpose of an advertisement, it utilizes the service of a country Y-based company which also owns, operates a the gross receipts of PQR Incorporation from provision of such service during the previous year 23-24 is during the previous year 23-24, MNO Incorporation paid rupees 5 lakh to PQR Incorporation for such services. Discuss the tax implication of such payment and received in the hands of MNO Incorporation, PQR Incorporation respectively if both MNO Incorporation and PQR Incorporation have no permanent establishment in India. முதல்ல நீ கரெக்ட்டா அனலைஸ் பண்ணனும். சர்வீஸ் ப்ரொவைடர் யாரு? PQR. சர்வீஸ் ரெசிபியன்ட் யாரு? சர்வீஸ் என்ன? Advertisement service. Whether the advertisement service is a specified service? ஏனா 165 அட்ராக்ட் ஆனா 165A அட்ராக்ட் ஆகாது. நான் அப்ளிகபிலிட்டில ஆல்ரெடி படிச்சிட்டோம் நம்ம. 165 அட்ராக்ட் ஆனா 165A அட்ராக்ட் ஆகாது. Okay. 165 service provider condition irukku. He should be a non-resident. Should be situated outside India. He should not have any business establishment. There is permanent establishment in India. Correct? And the recipient, my dear lovable students, should be either resident who are engaged in business or profession or non-resident having permanent establishment in India. இங்க ரெண்டு பேருக்குமே என்ன இல்லையாமா? P இல்லையாமா? அப்போ 165 ல விழுமா விழாதா? சொல்லுங்க. 165 விழலைனா எங்க வேணும்? 165A ல வேணும். 165A ஓட கண்டிஷன் இப்ப நம்ம செக் பண்ணி பார்க்கணும். 165A, there should be an e-commerce operator. Yes, providing online digital platform services, e-commerce operator. Such e-commerce operator should be a non-resident. Correct? Should provide supply of goods or services. Advertisement service is a service to specified person. Specified person, 3 category are there. 3 people are specified person. Number 1, a resident in India or non-resident in Special circumstances. Who are the non-resident special circumstances? Sale of advertisement. Sale of advertisement targeting Indian. Is this sale of advertisement targeting Indian customer? இப்போ நம்ம படிக்கிறோம் கீழ ஆன்சர். This much you have to think. That means equalization levy should be there in your brain. Chapter 8 of Finance Act 2016, equalization levy provides for equalization levy of 6% of the amount of consideration for specified service received or receivable by a non-resident not having PE in India from a resident in India who carries out business or profession, or from non-resident having permanent establishment in India. Specified services means online advertisement, any provision of digital advertisement space or any other facility or service for the purpose of online advertisement, any other service as may be notified by the central government. However, equalization levy shall not be levied where the non-resident providing the specified service has a and specified service is effectively connected with such permanent establishment. Aggregate amount of consideration for specified service received or receivable during the previous year does not exceed where the payment for specified service is not for the purpose of carrying out what or what. Equalization levy at the rate of 2% would be chargeable on the amount of consideration received or receivable by yaar from e-commerce supply or services made or provided or facilitated by to a person, to a non-resident in the specified circumstance as provided, to a person who buys such goods or services through using the IP address located in. Equalization levy shall not be charged where the e-commerce operator making or providing facility e-commerce supply or service as a and such e-commerce supply or service is effectively connected with the where the equalization levy is leviable under section sales turnover or gross receipts as the case may be of the e-commerce operator from the e-commerce supply or service made or provided or facilitated is less than meaning of specified circumstance sale of which target a customer who is in India or customer who access the advertisement through IP protocol located in sale of data collected from person who is in India or from person who uses IP address located in. Now based on the chapter equalization levy, not provision. The whole chapter has been rewritten, correct? We are going to talk about where MNO incorporation and PQR incorporation have no NI in India. Sir, equalization levy would not be attracted in the present case since MNO incorporation, a non-resident service recipient does not have a because உனக்கு specified services specified person க்கு provide பண்ணும். Specified person either Indian person who are doing business or profession in India or non-resident who are having a so this will not cover under this. Right, fantastic clarity, sir. Therefore, MNO incorporation is not required to deduct equalization levy at the rate of on file act being the amount paid towards online advertisement service to PQR incorporation. However, equalization levy at the rate of under section 165A is attracted on Ethan lakh being the amount of consideration received by yaar a e-commerce operator from e-commerce service provider by it to MNO incorporation and non-resident in the specified circumstance, namely sale of advertisement which target a customer who is resident in India since the gross receipts of PQR incorporation the previous year 23-24 exceeds. So, and the e-commerce operator India வெளிய இருக்கான்ல அவன் எங்க பிசினஸ் பண்ணிருக்கான் இந்தியால பிசினஸ் பண்ணிருக்கான் and advertisement இந்தியால பண்ணிருக்கான் யாரை டார்கெட் பண்ணி Indian customer. So his income is accrued or arisen from India as per a SEP concept. More than 2 crore. So that income is accrued or arisen in India. For that he is liable to pay tax in India. This is not falling under 165. So it will fall under 165. அப்ப இந்த மாதிரி சர்க்கம்ஸ்டன்ஸை கவர் பண்றதுக்காக தான் 165A வச்சிருக்கோம். நெக்ஸ்ட் ஒன் வேற MNO incorporation provider or recipient as a PE in India but PQR incorporation does not have a PE in India போதுமே 165 ல விழுந்துருமே கரெக்ட்டா in the present case equalization levy at எத்தனை percent is chargeable on the amount of 5 lakh received by PQR incorporation non-resident not having PE in India from MNO incorporation and non-resident having PE in India. Accordingly, MNO incorporation is required to deduct NLV of 30,000 at the rate of 6% of rupees 8 lakh being amount paid towards online advertisement service provided by a non-resident having no permanent establishment in India. Non-deduction of NLV would attract disallowance under 40A subsection 1B of 100% of the amount paid while computing NI income. Since equalization levy is attracted on the amount of 8 lakh, the said amount is exempt from income tax by virtue of the Income Tax Act. The last NSR situation where PQR incorporation as a NI in India, who's PQR? Service provider. And advertisement services are effectively connected with such PE, sir, then NSR 165 will not be applicable. 165A again will not be applicable. Equalization levy is not applicable. Equalization levy would not be attracted by the non-resident service provider PQR in this case as permanent established in India, and service is effectively connected to the PE in India. Therefore, MNO incorporation is not required to deduct equalization levy on 5 lakh, being the amount paid towards online advertisement service to PQR incorporation in this case. Since equalization levy is not attracted in this case, exemption under 1050 of Income Tax Act would not be. However, since PQR incorporation as PE in India and advertisement service are effectively connected with what? Such advertisement income would be deemed to be accrued in India in the hands of PQR incorporation under section 9 subsection 1 and would be taxable in the hands of PQR incorporation under the Income Tax Act 1961. You revise the entire provision and do question number 5 and do question number 6 by your own. Apply the provision and check whether you are done with the equalization levy or not. My dear lovable students, here I can say that we are through with the topic of. In the coming session, we have to talk about VDA, virtual digital asset. I hope that you are enjoying the session. So still you are having lot of time are there for examination. Study one topic at least a day. Take to 2 days to study one topic. What I am saying from this side, being a tax faculty, we have covered more than 90% now itself. Don't worry about the remaining 10%. Pora bokla oru maasam the 10% complete pannirvom namme. Start studying the 90%, working on the 90%, and understand one concept for the entire CA final. There is no concept of completing portions, both by the teacher and also by the student. So you have to study daily, you have to analyze the things daily. In the coming class, we'll be talking more and more and more about VDA, which is virtual digital asset.